Dash Cash. Today is March 5th, 2023, and we're working on putting together a profile and an outline on how we can better budget to help a client out. And so it's important to know as much as you can about the customer so you can help them out. Goes without say, but if you know the budget, if you know what's most important to them or to that client, and what things aren't as important, and really speak to them and be the professional in order to guide them through. So, case in point, we got a customer today who has four cars, two children, one of which just got his license. So, congratulations to being a new driver. But with that, comes responsibility and rates for new drivers are going to be a lot more expensive than rates for experienced drivers. And the reason why that is remember this in insurance, it's all about risk. And, within the early years of somebody driving, they just don't have enough experience. And because of that, that presents a higher risk. Therefore, there's a lot more possibility for claims, and claims do happen. And with that being said, after a few years of driving, they in California would typically get a California Good Driving discount. That's normally after 3 years of driving. And after a few more years of experience, then, the rates can go for them a little bit lower too, because now that experience factor has been built in. But there are a few things to consider. Number one, the type of vehicle. Um, so year, make, model, trim, and VIN. So a good example of what I'm talking about here is, say somebody has a 2023 Toyota Camry. Okay, so that's a year, make, and model, but what about the trim? So that would be like a Sport, an LX, Premium. That's what we mean by trim. And then, of course, the VIN number. That VIN number is 17 digits long, and a lot of times that's actually found when you open up the door, the driver's side door. It's probably a sticker right inside the door, but there's always a VIN plate, which you'll see if you look at your windshield, either a right or left side. You'll definitely see that over there. And so those 17 digits is kind of like the ID for the vehicle. The next thing you have to consider after the vehicle is, what are your coverages? Okay, so coverages meaning, well, not meaning this. Everyone says, like a lot of people say full coverage. The minute somebody says that to me, they just say it as a blank term, I want full coverage. I kind of know that they don't have a firm grasp on auto insurance because they can't break down what full coverage means, but I'll go ahead and break that down for you. So in the state of California, right, by law, we need to have liability. Liability is bodily injury and property damage. So the limits right now as we speak are 15,000, 30,000, and 5,000. Let's use an example of me and you driving. We get into an accident. Let's say you're at fault or you're liable. That first 15,000 is for the other driver or me, my bodily injury. You're telling insurance pay me up to 15,000 for my bodily injury. The 30,000 is for the entire accident. So whether it's me and one person or me and three other people in the car, you're telling insurance only pay up to 30,000. All right. So um, the last amount, the 5,000, is for property damage. All right. So that's property damage to my car if you're found at fault. When you throw in full coverage, what that basically means is that you want coverage on your car too. Okay, regardless. Because if you put me in the hospital, you damage my car, there's probably a good chance your car is damaged as well. And so you want to make sure that you can take care of your car. Okay, so hypothetically, let's say you totaled my car, and I have that 2023 Toyota Camry, right? That car, baby's running like 30,000 bucks. But because you went at the lowest limits possible, okay, and let's remember this, you totaled my car. I got some bodily injury, maybe it's $15,000 worth. And then there was nobody else in my car, so there's nothing else you have to worry about. But on the other side of it, you totaled my car. If property damage is only 5,000 bucks, well, guess what? You owe me $25,000 more if my car is worth 30 grand. So because you went with the lower limits, right? You now owe me to make me whole. But at the same time, you damaged your car. So let's say your car sustained damage now of 3,000 bucks, okay, and you have full coverage. Then for the exchange of your deductible, because deductibles come in comprehensive and collision. Collision, let's talk about that first. You collided with me. Okay, so let's say you have a $500 deductible and you have $5,000 worth of damage on your car. So for an exchange of the repair of your car being 5,000 bucks, you pay a $500 deductible. That deductible only applies to fixing your car. Okay, that's collision. That's what can count against you, especially if you have, too many of those being your fault. Um, that'll also raise your premium, and that also can get you non-renewed. Okay, if you have comprehensive deductible, what that means is that's everything outside of a collision or your car being in motion while it strikes an object or anything. Okay, so what are those things? Weather-related damage like sun, fire, rain, hail, even an earthquake, but some things it does cover too. Let's say a cracked windshield, a rock hits it, or an animal hits your car. And here's something more common: car maybe gets vandalized, catalytic converter gets stolen, or let's say your car gets stolen, period. That's comprehensive. And for the company that I'm at, you can file as many of those claims as you want, and we'll never non-renew you. We won't raise your rates because basically that's not an indication of your responsibility or your driving or your actions. That's just something that happened to you. So now, going back to that accident, right? If you don't have proper coverages, that's where you can be in a world of hurt. And so my recommendation would, be to never go to the very minimum. We know that people want to pay as least as possible. The thing is, we also know when there's damages that occur, people want to get paid out the most as possible. We also know that cars typically are the second largest investments that people have outside of their home. So if you want to make sure that, your investment or the vehicle you drive is taken care of, then get proper coverage and talk to your agent about the different coverage levels that are available to you. Okay. As you move up in coverage levels, the pricing may not move up as much as you think. Okay. But that is a factor in terms of pricing, getting you priced out. Okay. Another factor would be, are you bundling your auto insurance? And here's what I mean. When you bundle, okay, that means you have one line of insurance, let's say auto, and then the other line, let's say home or renters. Um, more likely than not, like let's take worst case scenario. If you had a renter's policy and you had an auto policy and you bundled it together, a lot of times paying those two policies because they're bundled is actually going to cost you less than if you just got the auto policy on its own. All right. But of course, that depends on your situation, and go ahead and see your trusted insurance agent for that. Now, some of the other factors that can play into the pricing of your auto insurance would be something like this. Okay, it would be, do you have more than one car? Called a multi-car discount. And once again, this is Stash Cash on March 5th, 2023. We want to make sure that we're giving you information that's relevant. Okay. Another thing you might want to consider, but this also could add to your premium, or this will add to your premium, is if you need rental car coverage. It's not rental car like, hey, you're going to go rent a car and therefore you need coverage for that. What I mean by that is, let's go back to that accident. Okay, you damage my car, right? but now you have damage on your car is not drivable too, because let's say you messed up your axle, but now you need to go rent a car. Well, that's rental car coverage where you could actually um, take whatever levels that you have, levels of coverage. And here's an example of one. Let's say you had $50 per day and 1,200 for the entire incident. Yeah, well now you can actually go rent a car, um, and you have that coverage, and they'll pay up to $50 per day. Okay, so that'll add on to your premium. But if you only have one car, that's not a bad idea to have just in case something happens to you. There's also medical payments. Medical payments is also not mandatory, but you might want to look into that, especially if you're the one that gets hurt or you think you'll get hurt, because some people don't want to use their regular health insurance and medical insurance too. You could actually file a claim with our company at least for up to 3 years after the incident, as long as it's related to the incident. And then there's a few more coverages, but those are the basic ones. So how do you know what's right for you? Because most people who have insurance, it gets passed down. They just get what their parents have given them. They just run the same type of insurance when they move out, but don't really understand what they're paying for. I would just say this: understand what you're paying for. Have them take a look at your coverages. Select what's most important for you. Work that into a budget as much as you can, and then at that point, you could sleep well, knowing that you did the proper thing for you. Okay. And one last thing before I go is that if you have a loan or if you have a lease or any type of financing on your car, you have to get full coverage, meaning you have to get liability because first off, that's required, and then full coverage, to make you whole on your car. But with that being said, we're going to sign off today. This is Stash Cash on March 5th, 2023. We hope you learned something. Take care. God bless.